so next we are having the third Eleonora Barbieri Masini seminar, Women for Futures, which is called Futures Sisters. Okay, so moving from Finland to Finland, we are going to have here Lena Maya Loren, who will be co-hosting with me this event. We will have several women here. Some of them will broadcast in real time, and other participations will be performed through videos that some other women recorded for this event. Let me share with you that this event has the idea to honor Eleonora Barbieri Masini, which is also called the soul of future studies, right? She is a woman that has made a landmark in future studies. So this seminar in this third edition pursues to continue honoring her name, her work, and her life. So I'm glad to have here, in the meantime, at the moment, Rosa Alegria from Brazil, Margarita de Antuñano, who now lives in Canada, and Guillermina Benavides from Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico. While we are waiting for Lena Maya, I will invite you to keep looking at this conference because we have a lot of variety regarding lectures and workshops. I'm also performing a forward theater workshop after this seminar. And by the way, this event is going to be displayed in English and Spanish. We are having like the first part all in English, and the last part will be displayed in Spanish. Okay? So welcome once again, and we are just waiting for Lena to come here, okay? So we are waiting some minutes. Okay, let me also share with you that in the other room A, we are having Jerome Glenn with why we have to start working on AGI governance now. And we also having futures or the reproduction of oppression with Camus Fuku. Rosa Alegria, who is participating in this event, will be after talking about Transetarian Revolution, Intergenerational Futures for Post-COVID Times. And there will be also James Michel with Blue Economy Futures. And after this, we are having Africa 2063 Alternative Scenarios and the Role of the African Diaspora with Claire Nelson, Jules Anderson, James Calvin. And in this 6th room, we are having modular scenarios for exploring mission-oriented policy, factor trajectories, actorness, and interactive methods for developing policy by Aaron Rosa. And as the last activities, we are having in online A, facilitating teaching the future more widely. It's a workshop performed by Rick Sostak, and my own workshop, which is called Experiencing Scenarios as a First-Hand Experience Through Forward Theater. Okay, so we are about to begin this, this event, this seminar. Okay, Lena is trying to get into the room, okay? So let's wait more seconds for her. Okay, we are almost there, waiting for Lena Maya from Finland to enter to the room. Lena is having problems for entering in the room. Oh, there she is. Lena, can you hear us? Lena, can you hear us? Oh, she's out once more. Okay, we need to start the event since we have other events after this, as I shared with you. So hoping that Lena comes in soon, I will share with you the first participation. Well, so welcome everybody to the 24th WFSF World Conference performing at the Humboldt Carré from Berlin, Germany. And this is the online program. We are having people from all over the world, and we are glad to have you here. So this third Eleonora Barbieri Masini is about women talking, about another women, but not any kind of women. Futurists women, futurists. So we are having a first participation through a video from Jacqueline Merrick, which I'm going to present. Jacqueline Merrick is an artist and native of Scotland who was offered a teaching assistantship and international scholarship to study for her master's in design at the Design School in North Carolina. After graduating summa cum laude, she worked as a textile designer for some of the major furniture fabric manufacturers in America, with clients from all over the world. And then she transitioned to work as an artist and teacher in the healthcare system. She was worked with hospitals, the hospice, adult daycare, and assisted living facilities. Now she teaches art with the Hirsch Wellness Network. Okay, so Jacqueline is going to talk about Louise Grape. Let me share the screen with you. And with this, we start the event right now.
Good evening, Berlin. My name is Jacqueline Mering, and I'm excited and honoured to be part of the Masini session of Future Sisters at the WFSF World Conference in Berlin. I would like to thank Lina, Mia, Lauren of Turku University for inviting me to talk about my future sister, Louise Grape, founder of the Hirsch Wellness Network in Greensboro, North Carolina, America. And I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit more about her. So Louise, who is Louise Grape? Why is she, how does she epitomize a future sister? She's a visionary leader and an artist. She's an artist who had a vision of how she could change the world for better. And she took the steps to make these changes. She had the ability to make other people believe in her vision and follow her lead and become part of her caring network. Her vision became a reality because she had clearly stated goals and she had a strategic plan for reaching these goals. Her vision was successful because her plans were achievable and sustainable. But more than anything, Louise has this unique ability of drawing people in, believing in her vision, very talented and compassionate people who then go out and spread her vision, and the circle of helping and care becomes larger and larger. And every time you help, you helped yourself. So Louise had this vision of building a network of art and wellness classes dedicated to providing a cancer support community for cancer patients and cancer survivors during treatment and after treatment. So where did this vision come from? Why was this so important to her? Well, in her own words, in 2006, when she had her second diagnosis of cancer, she knew she had to do things differently. She knew that there was no program, there was no emotional support for people who had gone through the traumatic experience of cancer treatment, and then there's a long recovery period. She knew that there was a desperate need for aftercare, emotional support for anyone who'd gone through the cancer experience. And she also knew, because she was an artist, that creating things, self-expression and creating art was a healing way. It was a process that helped you process the experiences that you were going through. And through that was why she started her network. And it was started in her mother's honor, because her mother had cancer and died when Louise was 9. Her sister also had cancer. So since 2008, she has been dedicated to building a cancer support community that connects cancer patients and survivors, caregivers, family, and friends with creative tools and self-care strategies. Most importantly, providing emotional support during treatment into survivorship and beyond. And so how did she do this? I mean, what steps did she take? Well, she took very revolutionary and radical step by saying that all her art classes and wellness classes would be free. And this is very unusual for a healthcare program in America where the healthcare costs are prohibitive. So that was her guiding principle. All the art and wellness classes would be free so that everyone could access it and get help. All the artists and teachers would be paid for their services. That's pretty revolutionary too. And the programs will be funded by an annual art auction with art donations from artists. And that's how she started her mission. And she had the mission statement. Hirsch Wellness supports the emotional and physical needs of cancer survivors and patients in treatment. And it celebrate using therapeutic arts and wellness programs to celebrate the power of self-expression and self-healing, to cultivate strength, renew spirit, and foster hope. And in this picture, at the art table, I was an artist in residence at the hospital, helping out with the program, and I began to help Louise in 2014. At that time, I was working full-time in a hospital in a crisis unit for behavioural health, and my focus was to provide relief from tension and anxiety. And I did this through art and horticultural therapy activities in a non-judgmental and emotionally supportive environment. And so when I found out about Louise's mission, I totally believed in it. Plus, I actually have, my mother and father died of cancer, so I wanted to become involved. So how did it start? Well, it started with 2008. Louise and her husband paid $10,000 of their own money to start paying artists to give classes. And at that time, there was no venue. They had to go from place to place. In 2010, they were offered a room in a church. And in 2016, they moved to Revolution Mill, which is a much bigger facility, bigger classroom, offices, and access to a beautiful gallery. So you can see that the art and wellness classes from the beginning, starting in a very small number, it exploded. The need was so great for these support groups, support classes. And so by 2020, we had 3,579 students. But in 2020, we went online because of COVID. And ironically, because of the shutdown, we actually almost doubled our participants. And in 2017, we started a partnership with Cone Health, which is a local hospital in Greensboro. And we had artists in residence at the art table help people while they were waiting for their labs, while they're waiting for their doctor's appointment, which can be a long wait. It can be hours and hours. And also going in one-to-one with people in the infusion room to help and talk, offer activities. And I can attest to how scary it is to be in that waiting room and how scary it is to be in that chair waiting for your infusions, because in 2020, I was treated for cancer. And I would have loved to have had the benefit of some of these services. So just to summarize really quickly, we started with 35 artists, 50 works of art, and raised $5,000. 2021, we raised $72,000. We also have another source of income, the Luna Film Fest. And looking down the road, we think we're going to go back into the hospitals in 2020, and we're going to start hybrid and face-to-face classes. But when we look into the future, we can see that we might be on the cusp of a really big change, and that's to do with COVID. And we can see the huge emotional toll that COVID and infectious and deadly disease can have on the population. And now it looks like Louise's vision and her program is even more vital. It's not just for cancer survivors. And so I want to thank you again for allowing me to come and talk. And I'm really excited that we have a Futures conference that actually is planning towards making things better in the future. And I think Louise's program should act as a really good model. And if we can expand internationally and help people, we would be more than delighted to. I want to say Best wishes to my future sisters and good evening.
So it was great from Jacqueline. It was really great. And now we have Lena here. Lena, welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm between two computers and you know what happens when you do that. So good evening to all and happy to be here. And thank you, Alegria, for hosting. So I hope to have an interesting evening. We had already one of the stories. I met Jacqueline in Finland. She was doing art show here on one of the islands, and we have been in touch since. So there's a future sister connection there too. So may I now ask that should we run the others and I come after the last English speaking person and then we move on with the Spanish? Would that be okay to reorder? To keep the
Yes. We can continue the order that it was stated and you can go after.
Yes, so that would be Rosa. Do you have her?
Rosa Alegria from Brazil, please. How are you?
Hola, hello. It is so much, it's a pleasure, a joy to be here with my future sisters. I love to be among sisters. We are growing, our group is growing. And it's a great idea, Lena. Congratulations for one more sessions. Eleonora Masini was my muse when I started studying futures. One of the first books I read, and I met her in Europe. She is really sweet person and a goddess of futures history. But now I'm going to make a tribute to another goddess of futures, who is Hazel Henderson. Okay, so I won't pass my time. So I have my organized information here. Let me share my screen. Oh, it works. And you tell me it's okay. Are you seeing? Do you see my screen? Okay,
it's beginning to load.
All right. I have to expand the screen, but I can't. It's frozen. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't.
So let me.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
There you are.
So, okay. So this is Hazel Henderson, my muse, my mentor, my sister, my friend, my inspiration. She is called to be a global acupuncturist for the system, for system transformation, because she sees the whole connection of systems and puts her eye on the solutions. Okay, so this is my tribute to Hazel. She has an amazing story. So she's a global futurist and economic iconoclast, tireless in her efforts to inspire a better future, but she criticizes the economy as it is. So Hazel started to make a revolution in the world with her discourse, with her criticism on the economy. And the first revolution was at school, in the school. She didn't want to go to conventional school. So she left school and created her own personal school, connecting through readings and books with the great authors. She started becoming friends with the authors, and she started to be referenced by these authors like Capra, Schumacher, Toffler, among many others. And she's an honorary doctor of several universities without even having formally graduated. So this is really incredible. consultant to various governments around the world. When she left England, she's English. When she left England, when she was young, she got married, and as a young immigrant in New York, New York was a very polluted city, and it still is, right? And with pollution making harm to her daughter, Hazel founded a great movement called Citizens for Clean Air. Citizens for Clean Air, and catalyzed the momentum for a whole movement in the United States. She got television, she became famous. She talked to economists, male economists that look at her and said, "You are so nice, but you don't know anything about the economy." When she heard that, she said, "Okay, you see who will talk about economy." So she started studying deeply economy, and she became, a reference. So she was very, very worried about the harm of the pollution that business was doing. Okay, so she authorized herself to speak for an alternative future of ethical markets. Ethical market was her team. And he was original voice for corporate responsibility and the love economy. The love economy, it's the economy which is not monetized, which is not accounted in the economic system. Okay, so love economy is caring for people, mothers working for children, corporation initiatives, and so on. This is one very, very interesting book she wrote with other goddesses like Barbara Max Hubbard and Jean Houston. Okay, it's a book that I think you can buy in the Amazon, and talks about the power of in. So this is a symbol of Hazel's thinking. This is a cake, and this simple drawing made many people change their mindsets about economy. This is a drawing that shows that Mother Nature and love economy sustains the public and the private sectors, but it is non-monetized. So this is really, really incredible. So this is Hazel in one of her earliest news papers, Economists versus Ecologists. So these are all the main books, some of the main books she wrote. There are many, many, many books, okay? I started reading her books when I didn't know her, and now I have to tell you my connection with Hazel, okay? Meeting with Hazel was a gift in my life. I got to know Hazel's thinking at the turn of the century, okay? I started reading her in 98, 99, and some friends introduced me to her work. The first book I read is Transcending Economy, which is not here. It's Paradigm in Prose, sorry, this is the name. I wrote the wrong name here. So at the time, I didn't have much contact with her. I was studying in Houston. I have a master's in Houston. And during one of the classes, one of the teachers, Oliver Markley, said, "Today you will listen to Hazel's on the phone. She will give a class on the phone for you." And I said, "Wow, this is incredible. She's my icon. I will be with Hazel here in my class." Something happened, I don't remember, because it was in 2000. I don't remember what happened, but the classes didn't happen. And okay, so in 2004, when I was in Brazil, a friend of mine called me and said, "How are you, Rosa? I was in Switzerland. And do you know Hazel Henderson?" I said, "Yes, I know her. Yes, I'm fond of her." he said, I met her in Switzerland and she's coming to Brazil. Would you like to take care of her, take care of her? I said, what? To take care of Hazel? So this is the story. This is where our friendship, our sisterhood began. Okay.
Rosa, can you speed up? We have 10 women to come.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, I'm finishing. And this is the story. And now Hazel is my reference. I have to praise for all the love, all the knowledge we've been having together. And I will share with you some of the screens because this is self-explainable, okay? Economics is really politics in disguise. And she says also that economic is brain damage. These are some of the several moments we've have been together in Brazil. Book that I organized about this talk with a great feminist. She died, but she was an icon in feminism in Brazil. Some of the moments, very sweet, incredible, and memorable moments with friends in her house in St. Augustine in Brazil. And this is Hazel. This is a very great quote. If we can recognize that change and certainty are basic principles, we can greet the future and the transformation we are undergoing with the understanding that we don't know enough to be pessimistic. This is Hazel, and this is our friendship. So thank you, Hazel. You are my beloved mentor, sister, and friend. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. This is exciting with the intercultural and between the languages making friends. So I think we now turn to have a message taped.
That was great, Rosa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll have to leave in some minutes because I have another talk now, okay? In some minutes. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so we are moving on with Geshe. Lena, are you presenting Geshe?
Yes. My friend Geshe is from South Africa, and she is a scholar practitioner based on Johannesburg and working with the intersection between people, place, and technological change. She's a visiting associate professor at the Wits School of Governance, where she is hosting the Civic Tech Innovation Network. She is also founding director of South American Node of the Millennium Project, Singularity University Global Faculty member, and also active at UNESCO Global Futures Literacy Network. She has her degrees in computer science and sociology and urban planning, and she has a PhD from WITS. Let's hear what Geshe has to say.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure what time of day it is for you, but my name is Geshe Korori Sabina. I'm really sorry that I can't be there with you today, but it's really my great pleasure to still be able to participate in this way. Let's hope it works. I'm going to try and share some slides with you in presenting my future sister. Okay, here we go. So again, apologies for not being able to be there, but really honored and privileged to be part of Future Sisters 2021 and to be able to share the sister that I have chosen, the person who for me really epitomizes the ideas and ideals of sisterhood, and the person of Eleonora Barbieri Masini, who we honor today, Concepcion Olvarieta from Mexico. I thought because I can't be there, I should begin by introducing myself briefly. As I've said, my name is Geshe. I'm based in South Africa, and I'm a founding director of the Southern African Node for the Millennium Project. I also do many other things, but this is going to be part of the story about my sister. And this is my sister, Concepcion. Many of you recognize, I hope, her beautiful face, and she's known to many of us as the president of the Mexican Node for the Millennium Project, now also the vice chair of the board, the global board for the Millennium Project, but also acting as the executive secretary for the Ibero-America Foresight Network. She is the Mexican chair for the node. And I think importantly, we all know her as a very active, as a very friendly, as a very beautiful futurist. And it's really my honor to have chosen her, and I'd like to share with you why I did so. So I first met Concepcion, probably it's around 2009 through the Millennium Project Planning Committee meetings. The first time I believe might have been in Boston, if I'm not wrong, but we've since met in many different cities around the world, even as far as Azerbaijan, as you can see in this image. And at all times I experienced Concepcion as being so friendly. She reached out to me immediately and we had, I think, a beautiful bond. Fabulous. I think any of you who know her know that she's always stylish and just amazing looking, super photogenic, but also super active, always having so much to share from her work, and I think really inspiring in that way. For any of you who know her, this will also seem very typical to you. This is typical Concepcion. Tables full of gifts. She's always gifting and always just bringing so much joy and so many smiles to people's faces. And this is the woman that I came to know in those early years. A bit of a timeline in terms of what she's done, and this is really only a timeline in the time I've known her. I'm pretty sure her timeline extends beyond that into many amazing things. But as I said, we've known her as the president for the node, as the vice chair, as this executive secretary, but also as a person who's been really prolific in futures outputs. She coordinated the World Futures Dictionary Encyclopedia, the Global Millennium Prize, which I want to come back to in the Millennium Award, the Mexico 2050 and the Latin America 2050 challenges reports, and so much more by way of representing the Millennium Project, as well as extensively collaborating in many different ways. I wanted to just come to this specific point about Concepcion as this intergenerational visionary. So the Global Millennium Prize is something that Concepcion began and that has now happened in many countries around the world, and was based on this idea, this vision she had of young people being invited, being allowed to share their ideas about the future, to share their visions for their communities, and to be recognized for this. She gave amazing sort of provocative and inspiring statements, inviting young people to give their vision, and just always made it such a festive and wonderful atmosphere of recognition, but also of celebrating the future. The Global Millennium Prize song is one of these examples. And in fact, we had the honor in South Africa of being the ones who recorded the English version of this beautiful song. But importantly, Concepcion went beyond doing the Millennium Prize as something that was just in Mexico. And so she contacted me in 2009 to say they'd had a surprise winner from Africa in the Mexican award, or the global award that was given in Mexico. And we then got to collaborate around doing something with them I think you bringing in the ambassador at that time. And that was a really important development we were able to achieve at that time. What it did inspire then in the following year is we were able to coordinate with Concepcion support and material and images and just so much she was able to contribute to actually do the same thing, to replicate the same award and to do an African Global Millennium Prize initiative here. We had collaborators that we were able to bring on, again, learned from Concepcion, who's always bringing together sponsors and supporters for event, and just really drawing from her energy and her ideas that we were able to do something similar here. Concepcion is also the futurist who you all know. I've mentioned the two reports that she has put out, the Mexico 2050 Challenges, Scenarios and Actions report, the 2050 Grand Challenges report. I believe these are both underway or have just been released, I'm not sure. But importantly is to see that Concepcion always has continued to work in this mode of being the collaborative futurist, always bringing together teams of amazing people. And I love this image just because it looks like two eyes. It looks like seeing into the future with as many eyes actually as we can. And that's something that I've really watched her do very ably and very instructively for people like me. Importantly, I've also gotten to know Concepcion not just as the futurist and the collaborative futurist, but also as the family woman, as the person who always puts family first. She has always told me and asked me about my family, told me about hers. And I think this intergenerational thinking, this holding of family and of community as being so important is a really important aspect of being a futurist, which I've really appreciated. And I really feel like I've met Concepcion's family, even if I haven't, because I've always experienced them through the images and the stories she has shared. Another thing that Concepcion and I share is a love for the arts and culture. I remember her regularly because, in fact, this particular art piece hangs in my living room, in my dining room, actually, which she shared with me early in our relationship. And I always really greatly valued it and had it beautifully framed and hung. I was also able to share artwork with her from South Africa. And I believe, again, that this appreciation of who we are and that arts and culture from around the world hold history, but also hold the future and hold our aspirations, our best aspirations, is something that I've really come to appreciate from her and to hold as part of my futurist practice. Concepcion is also a person who lives her values. I asked her what values were important to her, and it was no surprise that she shared loving, helping, sharing, and these are absolutely values that I would have happily ascribed to her because it's what I've come to experience in my relationship with her. And again, really important values for a futurist and for a future sister. So Concepcion, my future sister, in my view, brilliantly epitomizes a whole range of values that I saw actually in the WSFS website, referring to Dr. Masini as deeply ethical and humane, honest, tenacious, a tireless traveler, a personal friend of many people, great influence, studious, respectful of differences, conciliatory, a builder of alternative futures, a person who recognizes the many visions for diverse futures, and as a person who sees, as I've shown you, futures as people, especially our children, our cultures, and our environment. And this really, I could have changed the name and I would have been very comfortable to say that this is a person who I know, Concepcion, who I consider to be my future sister. And so I'd just like to stop here by saying, Concepcion, thank you. Thank you for agreeing for me to hold this title to you as my future sister. You've been an inspiration to me. You've indeed been a sister to me. And even though I can't be with a group today, I'm just so grateful for this relationship we've had. Yeah, may I be even just a drop of the inspiration you've been to many, many other sisters as we move together into the future. Thank you.
Nice.
So South Africa.
Okay. So yeah, Concepcion is a colleague of us here in Mexico, and yeah, she's also a friend. Okay, now we are moving on with Catherine Wong. Lena, you presenting Catherine?
Yes, Catherine is a young person and she is a finance professional with passion for sustainability and women's rights. She received her bachelor's in economics from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, concentrating in finance and business analytics. And now she has worked with youth services, including programming and increased youth access to education. Recently, she moved to New York and she continues with her work to the women's courses, and she is with the Quota Alliance community, and she wants to continue in New York. And there's a tape of her telling about the movement, and this is thanks to my friend, Dr. Jana Renström, who has a founding mother of the network. So they are building a community and they want a house. Let's hear.
Demographic changes are contributing to an increasing amount of available female energy. Women are living longer. Women are having fewer children. Women are increasingly educated. They are increasingly politically active when not restricted by cultural taboos or poverty. and we're allowed to have more power in family and society through increased wealth from paid work, entrepreneurship, and inheritance. Where women have access to their own money, children are better nourished and better educated. When women are involved in peace processes, they are more sustainable. Women's participation increases the probability of a peace agreement lasting at least 15 years by 35%. Women have proven to be leading the way towards more equitable and sustainable solutions to climate change. Where women are politically involved, health and social sector outcomes are better. COVID responses in female-led countries, for example. Research has shown that women-led countries had systematically and significantly better COVID-19 outcomes, adopting proactive and coordinated policy responses. We can look to Germany's Angela Merkel, New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern, Denmark's Mette Frederiksen, Taiwan's Tsai Ing-wen, and Finland's Sanna Marin, whose countries were quicker to respond to the crisis, increase public health spending, close borders, and enforce mandatory stay-at-home orders. From hearing all this, it is evident that women are increasingly gaining responsibility and leadership, but we are very far from achieving women's equity globally. Around the world, women continue to face gender-based discrimination and economic, social, and legal barriers to equality. Women are subjected to gender-based violence and repression in the home and in society through cultural and religious mandates. Globally, almost 1 in 3 women have been subjected to domestic violence at least once in their life. Calls to helplines have increased 5 times in some countries as rates of reported intimate partner violence increase due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Women are sexually harassed and discriminated against in the workplace globally. Women expressing their opinions in politics and journalism are subjected to incessant online and physical misogynistic harassment. Women's right to self-determination over their bodies are curtailed and under renewed attack in many countries. While more and more leaders recognize the responsibility to focus on human rights, including the rights of women and girls, greater efforts are needed to ensure that governing bodies apply a gender lens to their human rights strategies and political efforts. We must strengthen international processes to implement resolutions taken already decades ago and processes to hold countries accountable. For example, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Beijing Declaration, UN Women, Commission on the Status of Women, etc. These conferences and resolutions are an important platform for civil society and bring together a powerful network of policymakers and advocates from various intersectional communities. We must ensure that these discussions include issues such as race, LGBTQI rights, sexual and reproductive health, disability rights, indigenous rights, climate change, and poverty in our movement for gender equality and the empowerment of women. Countries must commit to concrete actions that would accelerate the realization of gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls everywhere, and international organizations must hold these groups accountable. There must be continued support of civil society organizations working on the ground and in collaboration with their governments where possible to enhance gender equality and empower women and girls. Many organizations exist that do work in one or several or all of these areas. Many work in silos, duplicating efforts and wasting resources, while some areas are left unattended. The lack of coordination within the sector is the gap towards advancing progress for women because many organizations do not collaborate towards a shared vision. Dakota Alliance is an umbrella organization elevating collaboration across borders for women-centered nonprofits, NGOs, social enterprises, and entrepreneurs that share the like-minded goal of improving gender equality and supporting women. Founded in 2015 by a group of volunteers from within the New York City-based cultural organization, Finland Center Foundation, and led by Jana Renström, MD, MPH. A lifelong human rights activist and an obstetrician gynecologist by training, Jana's talent is to bring diverse women and like-minded men together to support a common cause. Jana is grateful for everyone who has put in so much time and effort over the past few years and is now looking for institutional support and private investments to scale up the operations of the CODA Alliance, first in New York City and then globally. CODA's mission is to bring women-focused organizations together on one platform for networking, sharing resources, and collaborating on programs. We collaborate, advocate, empower. CODA offers our partner organizations workshops, trainings, advocacy, resources, and network building in order to cultivate a stronger community of women-centered resources and programming. CODA facilitates opportunities for bringing multiple partners together, giving them better opportunities for collaboration and thus growth. Through amplifying the activities of our partner organizations, we can catalyze greater change for women. CODA has created online programming, but believes meeting in person is often essential to achieve results. Therefore, CODA is creating a physical center in northern Manhattan to be closer to the underserved female population in the area. Our future physical space will be a subsidized office, conference, and event space in New York City to qualified women-focused organizations, allowing them to channel critical resources towards their programs in the field. It will be a hub for like-minded organizations and an incubator for fruitful collaborations. It will include lodging for visitors and other services, which will help us subsidize the costs. CODA will also provide other physical and virtual tools and services that organizations making a difference will need. CODA incubates collective impact. Yana and the CODA Alliance welcome visitors to our center in New York City, which will open in 2022, and are looking for it to become a model for similar ventures globally. Yana and the CODA Alliance are creating a strong network of organizations focused on female empowerment and gender equity as we continue to work towards our vision for the future.
So we are in a really inspiring event with all these stories, with all these women that are very brave to share their life, no? So it's really great. Okay, so now we are having Graciela Mota. So Lena, could you please introduce her?
I'm sorry, I didn't think of her. Here we go. Yes, she is a philosopher with a degree, a doctor's degree and social psychologist master in science. And she is an interdisciplinary cognitive expert in studies of future, foresight, scenario planning, and planning foresight focused on participative management and strategic decision-making capabilities building. She used to be involved in cultures on risk, human metacognitive skills, and her degrees will help her with the full-time thing. Now she's presenting my friend and artist in Mexico City, Glenda Hexer. Let's hear her.
Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Buenos días, buenas tardes. Yo voy a hacer esta presentación en español con objeto de introducir toda la trayectoria de una postulada, una nueva hermana 2021. Esta hermana se trata de Glenda Hexer. Y es para mí un honor introducir en el marco de este seminario de Eleonora Barbieri este sentido de las mujeres del futuro y en medio de esto las futuras hermanas planteadas en el 2021. Bueno, pues quiero decirles que Glenda Hexer es justamente una líder, una mujer feminista que ha transformado su vida a partir de la obra de arte. Ella es una artista plástica que indudablemente ha tenido un enorme recorrido como militante feminista y protagonista de la cultura y la equidad de género a nivel nacional e internacional. Con varias publicaciones de su obra en revistas nacionales e internacionales, en libros, catálogos, archivos y folletos, ha sido colaboradora de diferentes gacetas y suplementos culturales y que, por supuesto, motivo de entrevistas en medios. Merecedora de varios reconocimientos por su obra y su trayectoria con un liderazgo permanente, tiene obras privadas y museos en Alemania, Argentina, Canadá, Dinamarca, España, Estados Unidos, Finlandia, Francia, Holanda, Italia, Japón, México y Suiza. También ha participado en múltiples exposiciones colectivas e individuales desde el 88 y tiene, en el caso de en nuestro país, de México, escultura y obra en los espacios públicos. Con más de 13 series escultóricas desde 1980 a la fecha y con varios proyectos realizados en México, ha sido motivo de críticos de arte y destacados autores y artistas, sobre todo porque destacan que en esta época de pensamiento abstracto, de instalaciones y performances triviales, insustanciales e intrascendentes, las fuertes y voluminosas esculturas de Glenda Heckscher nos reconcilian con la esencia de una mejor tradición de la escultura universal. En este ámbito, bueno, pues Glenda ha participado en un sinnúmero de conferencias magistrales, de mesas redondas, y cabe mencionar que también ha sido protagonista en diferentes asociaciones nacionales e internacionales. En este nivel, ella forma parte, es miembro del Comité de Monumentos y Obras Artísticas en los Espacios Públicos de la Ciudad de México, el COMAEP. Es también vicepresidenta de Asuntos Internacionales de la Federación Mexicana de Urbanistas, de la FEMU México, miembro del Consejo Consultivo de la Sociedad Defensora Artística de México, del Tesoro Artístico de México, vicepresidenta de ella también, de la SODETAM, ha sido también presidenta de la Comisión de Artes Plásticas de la Academia Mexicana de las Ciencias, Artes, Tecnologías y Humanidades, y bueno, como lo importante es concentrarnos en su visión de futuro, lo que quiero destacar es que la mirada de Glenda es consolidar en el futuro una idea de la presencia de lo ausente, una idea que acompañe aquello que fue el ser humano que perdió algo o alguien, sobre todo en esta época de pandemia y de enorme riesgo por los cambios climáticos que acontecen y que fluyen a lo largo de nuestro mundo contemporáneo. Para plantearlo, Glenda concibe dos elementos arquetípicos, el colibrí y la mariposa. El colibrí, porque simboliza muchos conceptos en los cuales se les evocan como ese mensajero divino y portador de amor, alegría y belleza, pero también la mariposa, porque universalmente significa inmortalidad, renacimiento, resurrección, alegría y belleza. El cambio de la oruga a una mariposa es el viaje de un alma, de un cuerpo terrenal, evidentemente al paso con un cuerpo divino. Y por esta razón, en esta mirada de futuro, ¿cuál es el concepto que Glenda aporta como escultora, como artista plástica al futuro del arte? Bueno, pues indudablemente el hecho de concebir esta obra en parques públicos, en las ciudades, ella se plantea seriamente que el futuro desde hoy se hace o se deshace. Frente a esto, la orientación sostenible de su obra basada en las ODS de la ONU se plantea la recuperación de ecosistemas urbanos acompañada de espacios saludables, pero también recreativos, de espacios resilientes, inclusivos, siempre abierto al protagonismo compartido de la colectividad en su proceso de creación de significados. Y esta ausencia de significados actuales, este universo de silencios, requiere también de foros de acompañamiento en los cuales se pueda dimensionar poéticamente la pérdida. Por eso, la gestión de hitos urbanos llenos de luz, de brillo, de sonido, de textura, de convergencia con la naturaleza, se arraiga también con esta siembra escultórica de los ahuehuetes, que es el árbol nacional mexicano, para recuperar y evocar la flora y fauna originaria pero también para establecer un marco, un sitio dinámico abierto al involucramiento colectivo a partir del aprovechamiento de recursos naturales reciclables. Por eso, su visión de mitigación generada por el impacto del cambio climático y el impacto de la crisis del COVID es un refugio, es una morada, es un ámbito del conversar con uno mismo y conversar con ese vacío que nos ha dejado la ausencia para poetizar del silencio, quizá de eso sagrado que ha partido quizá con la mano de tantos que se fueron, pero también la recuperación onírica, lúdica, de espacios llenos de luz, llenos de sombra, llenos de textura y de naturaleza. Pues muchas gracias, Graciela Mota, a sus órdenes, y bienvenida a esta nueva sister.
Okay, so this was our first Spanish presentation, but we also have 2 more English presentations, including yours, Lena. So we can move with Guillermina, and then with you, Lena, and then we continue with the Spanish presentation. So do you want to introduce Guillermina, Lena?
Mic is on, right? Guillermina Benavides is a professor and director of Masters in Strategic Foresight, the School of Government and Public Transformation at the Tecnológico de Monterrey. We met in the last conference in Mexico City, so I'm happy that she is with us. She has a long resume here, but I think that we would like to hear her and her choice of sisters for this event, so that I will pass on.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, Lina Aletia, for considering me and inviting me to this seminar. I'm gonna share my screen so I can, do you see it now? Yes, okay. So thank you for the invitation to this seminar of Women in Futures, Future Sisters. I was thinking of who should I present, and I decided of 2 Mexican futurists, great woman that does very different things, but that's the magic of futures, of the future aesthetics field, that it's so wide and we can include so many perspectives. So I'm going to present now 2 amazing women. But first of all, who am I? Thank you, Lina, for the introduction. As Lina said, I work at Tecnológico Monterrey. I'm in Monterrey, in Mexico. And I put this quote because thinking about sisterhood and women, I think that, well, each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, possibly without claiming it, she stands for all women. So I really think that that's true for all of us, and because we have all, for us being women, we have faced challenges to be where we are today. So I'm convinced that we are making it better for the women that come after us. So I'm going to introduce these two amazing women that are Mexican, and I chose them because, in my view, I don't know what all of you think, but in my view, like in many fields, in future studies, women are underrepresented. Like there are much more many men than women. So I for that reason, I really love this seminar and pushing more women into the field to be visible and to have a greater voice. So And if this applies for women, for Latin American, for Mexican women, we are even more underrepresented. And one reason I can think of it is because of the language. English is the predominant language in the internet and in almost every journals. And if you want someone to read you preferably have to write in English. So sometimes this is a barrier for us, not English native speaking women. So for that reason, I really chose two Mexican women that have really different perspectives and use really different methods for future studies. And I really would like to cite and quote more Mexican women and Latin American women in futures field and to see more women present in journals. I would really love to have more Eleonoras, more Fabians, more Wendy's, more Guillerminas, but not me, the famous Guillermina woman, and more Lydias, and also from Latin America and Mexico. So who are those women? These women are Carla Paniagua and Mónica Méndez. Carla Paniagua is coordinator of future study at Centro, that is also a university here in Mexico. And Mónica Méndez is an associate at UNESCO chair on sociocultural anticipation and resilience from Uruguay. She's Mexican, but she's collaborating with Lydia Garrido, I think. And I had the opportunity to met with them. I have more a closer, not really close, but close relation with Monica. We have talked in the last future conference in Mexico. I know Carla Paniagua was also there, but I only see her from far away, but I see her work and see a couple of her papers, and I think what she's doing is great. It's really different of the foresight activities and methods I use, but it's also really, really great. So who is Carla? Carla is, she has a PhD in cultural studies and a master's degree in social anthropology. She's the director of future study program at Centro. She has been there for the last 8 years. And she coordinates the specialty of design of tomorrow. That is a 1-year program. She also coordinates continuing education programs, so foresight and strategy programs as personal futures and participative futures. And I think Aletia also participated in these programs at Centro. She has worked with several organizations such as SURA in Colombia, OCES in Colombia, the Bank BBVA in Mexico, and other initiatives. She's presenting in this conference also this project, the Global Futures Labs in Mexico, that won the Core 2020 prize. And she has also national, international publications. So she's more oriented in foresight and foresight design. And she's doing some amazing work over there. And the other one, it's Monica. Monica, I had the opportunity to meet her in the World Future Studies Federation conference last year, a couple of years ago in Mexico. She's main interest focuses on policy and design and in peace and development. She also contributes to training programs and publications at the Geneva Center for Security Policy. We have been talking extensively of how she can work with us here at Tecnológico and offer probably an elective course to the master's degree program students and on strategic foresight. It's a guest speaker also in international security sector reform and strategic foresight and gender mainstreaming. She's also a program manager at the Security, Gender and Development Institute. And finally, since 2019, she's a member of the OECD Government Foresight Community. She's also, it's not here, but I remember when she shared with me her profile, she's also a judge in the Joseph Jarowski Prize. So she's engaged in this foresight community. So I just want to add both of them to the sisterhood of foresight and futures for women professionals. And here are their contents, so feel free to contact them. And thank you for inviting me and for being here.
Nice
Thank
to
you
hear,
for my
Mija.
part. Yes.
So two women from our country. So really great. And actually Monica is here. So greetings to Monica. Okay, moving on. We are going now to present Luz Alexandra from Colombia. Wait for me, please. Lena, could you please introduce Alexandra while I look to her video?
Well, I don't think I have the resume here. Sorry.
I think it's in the program.
Yes, but you know, I'm between two computers and a pile of papers. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Okay, so here I have Alexandra. So now we are going to begin with Alexandra. Just wait for me. Wait a second. Wait a second. Okay, so now we are going to start with the Spanish program. Margarita, please remind me if you are going to present in English or Spanish.
Mostly English, although I will include some Spanish, but I would say more it's English.
So if you want to go first, Margarita.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Hello from Canada, but I'm Mexican as well. So totally inspiring woman, really enjoying the presentation. So I'm gonna share my screen. So I'm the director of the Canada-Mexico Cultural Exchange Center here in Canada. And pretty much what we do is to be connecting people and connecting cultures so people understand each other. So we started with Canada and Mexico, and in the past 30 years, you know, it's been a global. So we provide services and involving projects for cultural understanding. So important. And today I'm honoring Dr. Dorothy Golden Rosenberg, my colleague at the University of Toronto. Now, can everyone see my screen? Yes. And my presentation is going to be interactive, so please, if you guys can put your microphones so you can participate, that will be great. So can I hear everyone say hola, hello?
Hola. Hola, Margarita.
Okay, wonderful, excellent. Yes, I want you guys participating. So I hope that you guys are ready to participate. Dorothy is 84 years old, and I met her when I was at the University of Toronto 30 years ago. We were both doing our doctorate degrees, and she's still a dynamo, an activist, feminist, professor, author, you name it. But I mean, the incredible thing is that it's 30 years later, she's 84, and she's still, you know, doing things as if she's 20. So that is in itself amazing to me. And so we're going to start with this, you know, how wonderful it is that nobody needs to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. ¿No? Qué maravilla que no tenemos que esperar para mejorar el mundo. And everyone here, you know, all of you, we're here because we're interested in really making this world a better place. So how wonderful it is that here all of us were. Oh boy, my screen went a little crazy. That's me when I started in future studies 30 years ago in Japan. And here we are, right? So many years later, and we're still working, and it's just, it never ends, right? The work never really ends. So I'm very sorry. I'm trying to get, Alegria, do you have my presentation by any chance?
Yes.
Would you like to be the presenter? Because my computer is acting out, so I don't want to be distracted by technicalities. Would you mind, Alegria, helping me out? Would that be okay?
I will. Yes.
I know that you're quite of a mover and shaker. So,
Okay.
so this is 30 years ago. Look at my serious face there, right? It's in my 20s, I already knew how crucial it is to, you know, that we think about our future. And I feel that when we started 30 years ago, it was to create a better future. And now we are at a stage of, how can we have a future, right? So this is one of the things that we talked to Dorothy.
So Margarita, do we change of screen?
Yes, so I'm gonna stop my share, okay? And did it stop? Okay, so hopefully you'll be better at this and it won't. So let's go to before this screen, please, before this one. I want you to show, and this is where you're gonna participate. You're gonna see a picture of Dorothy. I think it's slide 3, Alegria.
Here.
Aquí, perfecto. So this is Dorothy, okay, one of our sisters, and I chose her because there's so many similarities with Eleonora Masini. So I would like to hear, what do you see when you see this picture? ¿Qué ven? ¿Qué es lo que ven? ¿Qué se les viene a la mente? ¿En dónde es? ¿Qué podemos decir de esta persona? What can we say about this person?
Funny girl.
A cycler.
A cycler, right? So, okay, what else?
Adventurous.
Yes. So what else? What about the plant?
Calais? The plant is Calais, no?
I don't know what kind of plant it is, but,
Yes.
but a plant lover. Okay, good. Very good that you guys. And where do you think this is? Any clues of like what's the background? What city? No, well, it's Toronto. It's Toronto. But yes, so we can, we can see that, this is a woman that loves nature, that loves moving, that it's moving, that she lives in a big city, and yet, she is contributing to climate change by biking instead of driving. So excellent. Let's move along to the next screens. Beautiful. So what I would like you guys to do now is that I'm gonna put her name. So next, please. Next. So it's good. So, okay, so here we are, where we recreated the greening at the University of Toronto 30 years ago. So for the faculty to start thinking about green practices. So now it has grown, and of course it's not where we would like it to be. I guess it will never be, but we started it. So that's 30 years ago, and as I said, she continues to do great things. Next, please. So now I would like you ladies to look her name. Okay, Google her, Dorothy Golden Rosenberg. Okay, Google her and find 4 similarities with Eleonora, please, like that Dorothy would have. So I'll give you one minute. Let's see how fast you are.
Sorry, Margarita.
Yes?
Yes, I'm trying to speak, that there are other speakers, so let's speed up. We have a limited time.
Yes, so, okay, so who will have some similarities? Did anyone find on Google something about Dorothy? No? Okay, well, you know, Unstoppable, one of them, that they are way past their retiring, you know, period, and they are still working and writing books, and also that they are very eclectic in what they do for you know, a better future. So it's climate, it's peace, it's social justice, so on and so forth. Next, please. Alegria. So this is what, you know, we educate, we motivate, and we legislate. So these are just some of her accomplishments, you know, a PhD of University of Toronto, author of hundreds of books, presenter of numerous conferences, director in different boards. She's also a film producer to create awareness for better futures. Next, please. Thank you, Alegria, for doing this. So, you know, as you can see, like it's very eclectic in all of what she does. Social justice, women's health. Most of her work has been on women's health and the environment, so important. Next, please. So, yeah, like really, next. Some of her awards, you know, that you can see on service. She has been named one of the most important peacemakers in Canada. And yes, let's go to the brain slide. So this is so important. And if anything for this presentation that I would like you guys to have is, you know, as educators, authors, whatever work we do, it starts with the brain, right? Like thinking of issues. So those are our thoughts, our heart, it's our feelings, whatever we're feeling about an issue, and our feet are our actions. So unless we connect these three, nothing is done. If we only have the brain or the heart, you know, there's no action. So next. So that's so important in all we do. And when I asked Dorothy about how can we have hope for the future, this is what she said. Would you like to just, it's 2 seconds. I would like you to see her in action, you know. So the question is, how do we have hope?
With the youth, right? And you look at the youth and climate change, and you look at how, I don't know if you've seen the films with the kids, with the young people.
Yes.
I mean, it's thousands and thousands of young people who we're getting them to talk with. They are getting to talk to their parents and their grandparents. And next year, many of them are going to be voting themselves.
Thank you. Thank you. So youth, you know, that's our future, our youth. And I think we lost the presentation. How are we doing with time? Am I with my 9 minutes or past?
Yes, we have some more to go. So
Okay. Okay, so if Alegria, just at the end, could you post the last slide with the information if people want to get a hold of Dorothy and any of her initiatives? Like there's some wonderful newsletters there to take action for better futures that we can do. I think like there at the end, the information, or you guys can write to me at info@canadamexico.com, info@canadamexico.com, to you know, if you are inspired to get involved. So thank you very much. And thank you, Alegria, for helping me with the slides. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we are going directly with Tatiana. Please, Tatiana. Let me.
Buenas tardes. Good morning.
Let me introduce Tatiana.
Yes.
Voy a presentar rápidamente a Tatiana. Ella es psicóloga de la Universidad del Externado de Colombia, licenciada en Sociología y doctora en Ciencias Sociales de la Pontificia Universidad Gregoriana de Roma, Se desempeña como directora del programa de psicología y como docente a nivel de posgrados. Es experta en perspectiva humana y social en el ámbito de los estudios del futuro. Muy bien. Bueno, damos solo unas breves palabras para continuar. Adelante.
Gracias, Aletia. Elena, un gusto a todas las que están aquí reunidas esta tarde. Me tocó una responsabilidad muy grande y fue contar algo sobre la profesora Eleonora Masini. Titulo la presentación Liberación en humildad y dedicación. Creo que esas dos características eran las que Eleonora nos mostraba cuando estaba en la Universidad Gregoriana de Roma. Acá la vemos en una foto hablando sobre 6 escenarios para el 2000. Quisiera contarles 3 cosas. La primera es unas curiosidades sobre la infancia de Eleonora, la familia, el comienzo en la prospectiva como profesora, su barrio, su biblioteca, algunas ideas relevantes de su obra, solo 2, son muchas, pero pues ustedes también ya conocerán más este aspecto y unas contribuciones muy concretas que yo creo que ella pues nos presenta con mucha claridad. La infancia de Eleonora, aquí la vemos en una foto cuando tenía como 16 años. Eleonora viene de una familia antifascista. Los padres la llevaron la sacaron de Italia, o sea, se fueron a Italia y por eso es que Eleonora nace en Guatemala. El próximo diciembre cumplirá 94 años. Vivieron unos tiempos muy difíciles en la guerra, la Segunda Guerra Mundial, y se refugiaron en una casa. No sé si Lena conoció alguna vez Santa Margarita en Liguria y se llama Villa Il Sogno. Muy posiblemente es esta foto que está acá y ella pues siempre en vacaciones se va para Santa Margarita a esta casa. Es muy importante para ella porque ellas se refugiaron allí durante la guerra con su madre y su padre pues fue reclutado para irse a trabajar, bueno pues para irse como soldado, ¿no? Después de esto, pues cada vez la cosa se puso más cruda y ella se va para Roma cuando tenía 15 años y se refugia en una clínica de monjas irlandesas. Unos tiempos de escasez muy duro, pero en esa época, como su madre era escocesa, ella le ayuda pues a aprender muy bien inglés y aprende otras cositas y era muy estudiosa y buena lectora, dice una parte de su biografía. Sus primeros estudios, Eleonora pues estudia en la universidad, Derecho. Incluso ella quería estudiar filosofía, pero su padre le dice, no, estudie Derecho, porque esto le da unas bases más sólidas. Se graduaría con una tesis de 1952 que se llama El Estado y la Iglesia. Ella siempre fue pues muy religiosa, muy cercana a las comunidades religiosas católicas. No sabía esto, pero pues tuvo también una beca Fulbright en Estados Unidos. Eleonora se casaría con Franco Masini, un ortopedista, y tendría 3 hijos, Alessandro, Andrea y Federico. Los vemos en estas fotos de acá. Y uno de sus primeros acercamientos a la prospectiva sería en la Universidad de Sussex, en Inglaterra. Eleonora, pues porque era madre, estaba con sus pequeños, entonces no podía trabajar en ese momento, pero ella nunca dejaba de estudiar. Y en esas andanzas conoció a un padre que era pues el padre, digamos, que confesó a sus hijos, que bautizó a sus hijos, un sacerdote. Y en 1968 ella empieza a trabajar en un instituto de investigación aplicada que se llama el IRADS. Ahí como que empieza su gran camino con la prospectiva. Ella no conocía nada de prospectiva, pero se aventura a escribirles a estos grandes, a Bernard de Jouvenet, a Jacques, a Robert Jung, a Michael, a John Mack, y les dice, bueno, pues quisiera conocer más de ustedes. La casualidad es que ellos le responden una carta y les dicen, queremos saber también de ti, que queremos conocer el instituto del cual haces parte. Y bueno, ella empieza entonces sus andanzas en ese sentido, pasa el tiempo, después pues ella es profesora en la Universidad Gregoriana, acá la vemos arriba en la universidad, durante 30 años. Y ella siempre pues era muy humilde en el sentido que ella escribía muchos artículos en ese momento, pero decía que eran sus estudiantes africanos en esta universidad, pues vienen a estudiar, digamos, la parte más importante del clero religioso católico, y vienen de todo el mundo, ¿no? De donde está la religión, entonces vienen de muchas partes de África. Pero ella decía que gracias a que podía conversar con sus estudiantes, pues tenía una experiencia muy satisfactoria. Y además dice uno de sus, que heredaron todo el conocimiento de Eleonora y que ahora es el profesor de prospectiva de la Universidad Gregoriana, que se llama Cinquengrani. Él dice que ella fue la que realmente los globalizó antes del Internet, porque ella pues siempre estaba en contacto con muchas personas, la conocían en muchos lugares del mundo y pues gracias a todos estos contactos y a su trabajo la nombran doctora honoraria o le dan el honoris causa en la Universidad de Budapest en 1998. Aquí la vemos con su diploma, ¿no? Recibiéndolo en esta ceremonia. La casa de Eleonora queda en la vía Bertoloni, Parioli, un barrio donde están las embajadas y bueno, aquí no sé si alcanzan a ver el cursor, pero pues es exactamente este piso. Entrar a la casa de Eleonora era maravilloso, uno se sentía muy privilegiado. Eleonora pues no fue mi tutora de tesis de doctorado, pero pues sí me siguió, ¿no? Para mí fue la última tutora, casi la última tesis que estuvo pues a cargo de nosotros en el equipo, digámoslo así. Y acá la vemos con su gran biblioteca. Ella me decía, esta biblioteca se la voy a donar a la Gregoriana en el momento en que yo parta de este mundo. Una biblioteca riquísima que nos ofrecía a todos los estudiantes que pasábamos por Roma. Decía otro estudiante de doctorado, decía, esa es la biblioteca más importante para nosotros en toda la ciudad, porque era una biblioteca que además ella no había construido sola, sino se la habían donado, ¿no? Después de tantas visitas y encuentros que había hecho. Y acá está su Mac, su computador Mac, que siempre la acompañó y que era muy hábil ella para trabajar en él. Dos grandes aportes. Primero, creería yo, precisamente en el papel de las mujeres, que desde nuestra perspectiva ella decía que no quería un empoderamiento de las mujeres, sino más bien una liberación de ellas. Un cambio en el papel de las mujeres, en la familia, generando un aumento en sus condiciones de emancipación social, mujeres que se conviertan en tejedoras de vínculos, de oportunidades. Hablaba mucho de ese aporte que las mujeres podían dar a su pareja, a su cónyuge. Para nosotros, pues ella fue una de las primeras que investiga en el campo del género. 8 años después, sí, el género, digamos, el estudio de género toma un camino pues más relevante. Acá la vemos en esta foto, en la celebración en el 2013 que se hizo en la Universidad Gregoriana en honor a su nombre, en un libro que se llama El alma de los estudios del futuro, Eleonora Masini, de donde pues tomo gran parte de lo que presento en este día. Y acá otra cosa también fundamental es que ella dice que la importancia de leer las visiones de futuro que tienen los niños. Sí, y esto es un aporte pues que muy poco se ve en la literatura. Y por último, ya para cerrar, están las contribuciones. Primero, ella, para los que seguimos su propuesta, ella dice que el estudio del futuro es el que le da realmente sentido a las ciencias sociales. Pentti Malaska diría, su contribución internacional al pensamiento disciplinado sobre el futuro y al estudio de la educación de los futuros para la construcción de una mentalidad mediterránea. Bueno, él hablaba siempre que ella tenía una dulce mentalidad mediterránea y su contribución principal es al estudio de la educación del futuro. Wendell Bell diría que fui crecientemente influido por su compromiso de vida, tanto al desarrollo de los estudios del futuro como a lo largo del futuro pacífico, justo, equitativo, ecológicamente sustentable y humano. Y otra compañera de ella que la acompañó pues, varios años fue que Eleonora es capaz de inspirar comunicaciones transculturales, transideológicas y transgeneracionales para promover, movilizar las energías a favor de una perspectiva de futuro plural, pero sobre todo humanística. Acá la vemos con Pentti en la fotico en una de sus reuniones. Muy bien, eso era todo. Muchas gracias por escuchar.
Muchísimas gracias, Tatiana. Qué rápido estamos ya llegando al final de este evento. Tendríamos entonces un video más y luego yo creo que pasaríamos con Lena. Yo creo por cuestiones de tiempo suprimiría yo mi participación.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos, buenas noches. Quiero hacerme también partícipe de este seminario de Women and Futures, presentándoles también otra Future Sister. En esta ocasión quiero presentarles a nuestra hermana de futuro, la doctora Marta Lucía Jaramillo. La doctora Marta es psicóloga de la Universidad de Antioquia, lleva más de 25 años de experiencia en psicología conductual, más de 800 horas certificadas de estudio y participación en ejercicios de prospectiva, es co-creadora del concepto de psicología de la anticipación y la resiliencia prospectiva, participante y cofacilitadora de los talleres futuribles, investigadora del Grupo de Prospectiva Estratégica Organizacional PESTO, certificado por Colciencias Mis Ciencias, y codirectora de la línea psicoprospectiva del Proceres México. Pertenece a la red iberoamericana de prospectiva RIVER, a la latinoamericana de mujeres prospectivistas, a Proceres, a la red prospectiva colombiana y también es miembro de la WFSF. La doctora Martica tiene dos proyectos muy lindos. Uno de ellos está directamente vinculado con esta organización, la Peace Hub. Con la Peace Hub ellos crean paz en un entorno tan difícil como es el entorno de los jóvenes y de los niños en la ciudad de Medellín, y lo hace a través de una iniciativa muy linda que es a través de animarse y acompañarnos junto con Violeta a descubrir el mundo mágico de las emociones. Vamos a ver quién es Violeta. Violeta es una monstruita muy particular, siempre está alerta para descubrir el mundo y asombrarse de todo lo que puede sentir en su pequeño cuerpo. Violeta es una creación de la Biblioteca Sueños de Papel para Lápiz Hub y ha sido creada por los niños y jóvenes de la biblioteca para poder expresar mejor sus emociones. Martica se define a sí misma como una mujer con espíritu joven, cuya máxima es que se niega a echarle la culpa a los demás de lo que a ella le pase y que no le gusta que le digan doña. Y está convencida de que la solidaridad y la compasión son la muestra del amor por los otros, por uno mismo y por el respeto a la diferencia. A través de su último libro, Psicoprospectiva y el mundo mágico de las emociones, ella nos presenta 44 emociones que nos permiten pensar en nuestro futuro, mejorar el presente y poder pensar mucho mejor en nuestro futuro. En palabras de ella, la alfabetización emocional nos permite tomar las riendas de nuestros impulsos emocionales, comprender los sentimientos más profundos de nuestros semejantes, manejar amablemente nuestras relaciones. Este modelo de inteligencia otorga a las emociones un papel central en el conjunto de actitudes necesarias para vivir el futuro en paz. Una de las formas que permite aprender a manejar las emociones es desarrollar uno de los elementos fundamentales de la inteligencia emocional, las habilidades conductuales. Y estas son no verbales como el contacto visual, la expresión facial, el tono de la voz, los gestos, así como las múltiples expresiones artísticas como el baile, la pintura, la poesía y el canto. El arte vinculado a las emociones permite a las personas y a las comunidades crear las capacidades de enfrentar, conocer y manejar las emociones e impulsos, volviéndolas funcionales. Y también el arte puede romper el ciclo de violencia y miedo que ha sido una emoción primaria y que pues nosotros hemos visto tan de cerca en nuestra región. La doctora Marta pues tiene varios libros académicos, ha participado en muchas investigaciones de prospectiva, tanto en Colombia como en Latinoamérica, y actualmente también tiene un proyecto muy bonito junto con el doctor Lucio Henao, que es acompañar el Plan Integral Especial de Desarrollo de Buenaventura para que este puerto sea capaz de transformar su realidad. La idea es que en el puerto las personas puedan cumplir sus sueños y que tengan planes para alcanzarlos, debido a que es una región que ha sido muy vulnerada por conflictos sociales, políticos, económicos y especialmente un tema de violencia. Nuestra hermana de futuros, Martica, es una artista espectacular, gran consejera, madre, hermana, hija, es tejedora de sueños, es constructora de futuros y es una excelente maga de las emociones. Para entender un poco mejor cuál es su espíritu, me gustaría leerle la dedicatoria que ella le hace a su libro, a Lucio, y dice: para Lucio Mauricio, mi maestro y compañero de vida, que es mi motor y cómplice, el que me impulsa a escribir, me motiva a crear, me ha enseñado a soñar futuros, amar sin poseer, acompañar sin invadir, vivir sin depender y que permanentemente me está inspirando empatía, resiliencia y prudencia. Aquí tenemos nuestro grupo de prospectivistas colombianos que estuvimos en la última reunión en México de la WFSF y quisiera dejarlos con un video en donde Martica nos cuenta un poco de su experiencia y de su trabajo en el puerto de Buenaventura. Les agradezco muchísimo y les deseo a todos una feliz tarde.
Bueno, por cuestiones de tiempo ya no podremos pasar el video que menciona Alexandra. Y asimismo quiero agradecerle a Alexandra porque además de realizar un video para Marta Jaramillo, realizó uno para mí y que bueno, por cuestiones de tiempo vamos a pasar a otra participación. Si bien también comentaba que yo opté por suprimir mi participación dado el tiempo, solamente comentar de manera rápida que yo hablaba de varias mujeres, entre ellas la doctora Guillermina Baena, Carla Paniagua, que también mencionó Guillermina Benavides, la misma Luz Alexandra Montoya, la misma Marta Jaramillo, Marina Torres y Jennifer Gidley. Ellas son como mi Future Sisters y bueno, quería mencionar que gracias a ella también, a ellas he tenido cierta trascendencia en el campo de los futuros. Lena, please, you go with your participation, please.
Can you do my slides, please?
Of course.
So my introduction was on the screen and in the previous information, but in this context, I'd like to start with saying that I have been raised in a family with 2 daughters, and I raised myself 2 daughters and 2 sons, and now I'm happy grandmother of 3 daughters. So this is the issue with the females and futures and all this. So there's something of my working background in my liaison with the Federation. So shortly, I have met Eleonora in my hometown, Turku, in 1990, when she was dealing with the Federation issues. And if I go on, can you take the next slide, please? So this is a picture which I think is symbolic of the images of future. You see the horizon, and it's a porthole of a ship, and the ship is called Viking Grace. And those of you who were with us on the first trip between Stockholm and Turku to run the Eleonora Masini seminar can imagine that this is the cabinet we had this event. So my question is, Eleonora is asking in her book, why future studies? And I'm asking why we should look forward and why we should do research. Next, please. So background to this kind of thinking, women also. So those of you who have been reading the book called Mankind 2000 know that there are 17 articles by 17 men. But the meeting in Oslo was really a good generator of forward-looking thinking because the Federation was founded by these same people in 1973. And the Federation had the 22nd conference in Jondal, Norway, and all these founding fathers, Professor Johan Kaltum was there in 2017, it must be. But the title has been changed, Humankind, and the year is now 2050. So the women are there. Usually at the United Nations context, I hear that the women and girls are the 51% minority. Next, please. So I'd like to point out that with Eleonora's work and persistence, so she was in the group almost the only woman futurist and woman researcher, and she did her leadership tasks and activities started so early as 1975 and went on until 1990s. So my claim is, which I come back to later, that without her work and the workload she did voluntarily to this organization, maybe there would not be this kind of federation. Next, please. So there's a picture of the first seminar starting. Eleonora was interviewed and the tape can be seen there in the background. And the profile is the vice president of that time of the Federation, Wendy Schultz, who has been speaking also today. And there's this reference to the tapes, the online tapes are there by the Turku School of Economics. So you may look at that later. Next, please. The next one was, as mentioned earlier, in Mexico City, and there's an action picture of women sitting at the National University. And we had the full day program, and this is the note. It was pre-conference event. Now we are inside the conference, and there's been some issues with that. Next, please. So I'd like to make known the work of what Eleonora was good in doing and what she did. She put focus on women and children. And through that, a strong liaison became between Eleonora Masini and my Turku friend, researcher Anita Rupin, in the late 1980s. They met at the Dubrovnik Future Studies courses. And since then, they were really doing work together, supporting each other. And in the black letters, I placed the question that if Eleonora did the work from 1970s on, and Anita started in 1990s, working for the Federation. So key roles and really hardworking women. Next, please. So looking at Anita's research and teaching, so she was keen to always remember to point out that this is a field of research that values are really important. The other long-term issue for her was futures, images, and children and youth. And she did education, and she did materials for education at all levels and forms, from school level to the university. Another small issue to the large languages like Spanish and English is that you translate the definitions and concepts to your tiny, tiny language. Finnish is only spoken by 5.5 million people, and Anita did so many great works for that. As a person, she was good in networking, and through her work at the Federation, she had all the international networks besides in Finland. Next, please. So there's this first piece of Futures Bulletin. So communication was important. So from the early days in 1990s, Anita did this. I helped her because I was a volunteer. Then she worked at the Finland Futures Research Center when it was founded in 1993. There were only 3 people there too. And then the Finland Futures Academy is a network of universities. So Anita was there again, doing the programs, making the courses and getting the syllables together. Then the master's programs in Finnish language started in 2002. She did that. 2005, it was translated into English programs as it is for today. And the major issue was happening in Finland in 2013. So the futures research, future studies became a discipline. So now you can have doctoral studies and do that at the university. Next, please. There's Anita. Oh, so we lost her in 2015, and in 3 days she would be in 69 years of age. So I think there are many people who remember her work at the university. So I placed a smiley picture of her here. Then the next slides are of her work, but if we are running out of time. So she did her doctoral dissertation, and she did a lot of work on commission by the Minister of Education and also the Board of Education, all these lining with the thinking of futures and teaching and young people in her mind. Next, please. So this is more of her work. Next, please. So in Spanish, so there are, oops. Can you go back one? So in Spanish, there are three of Anita's, at least three of Anita's work. And in the middle one, Caminando con Eleonora, there's her contribution to the book by Eleonora, which is this book, and talks about their friendship, and also something which is important in Women's Network. Eleonora was definitely mentoring Anita, because Anita was so alone in these corners with the men working with future studies. So that was an important link, and maybe a model to the other women. Okay, my final slide, and I hope, please. So this is the group on MS Viking Craze, and now I'm hoping that maybe there will be the fourth seminar with this activity. And I thank you, my co-creator Alegria, at this point. I hope you enjoyed this evening. I really had a great time myself. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lina, and thanks to you, this seminar is being preserved. So that's a great work. Thank you to all these beautiful women that shared with us these experiences with other women. And it's important that we keep going with these kind of seminars, right? Okay, so gracias Tatiana, gracias Margarita, gracias Guillermina, Mónica.
A ustedes. Gracias.
Okay, thanks to you.
Thank you.
Okay, ¿ya?
Thank you.
Gracias a todas. Son una inspiración. All of you are an inspiration. Thank you. It's good, goes well with our theme of hope, that there's wonderful people out there doing amazing things. So yay. Thank you. Yay.
Yeah, okay, nice. Okay, so this was a beautiful seminar, and moving on, I'm glad to present my colleague, William Halal, who is going to moderate the next session. And the next session is going to be performed by Aaron Rosa. We don't have Aaron yet here, right?
I don't see him. Oh.
No.
Well, it's still early, Alegria.
We have like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So we could present something that we missed. But we already said goodbye, right?
Well, let's hear from the people who are still here. What would they like to talk about? Lena's still here. Margarita's here.
I'd like to see the presentation on Alegria. That's great. And we didn't think that we have time. Can we show that?
We have 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, great idea.
Great idea, yes.
Okay, so I will like hurry up. Okay, so here we are. Are you looking at my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, so Spanish, right? Spanish.
Wherever you want.
Okay. So as I told you, mi primera future sister es la doctora Guillermina Baena Paz, que es una prospectivista relevante en América Latina. She's a top futurist in Latin American, Dr. Guillermina Baena Paz. Mostly is because of her that I learned futures. Yo por ella aprendí los futuros, primero por simbiosis. I was like imitating that, but then I found my own way, my own path, and then I'm here. Después encontré mi propio camino y bueno, aquí estoy. Y el tema con la doctora Guillermina Baena Paz, pues como algunas personas saben, no todas, pero algunas, bueno, ella es mi madre, entonces, bueno, la verdad es que tiene una enorme trascendencia, ¿no? So she is my mother, as some of you may know, and so she has really a big transcendency with me. Okay. Después tenemos a Luz Alexandra Montoya, ya la vieron en el video. Ella, bueno, es muy inquieta, tiene muchos temas. You already saw Luz Alexandra in the video. She is very curious, so she has a lot of topics, but she's really interested in prospective. Pero principalmente es mi amiga. Es una persona que estuvo muy presente a pesar de la distancia cuando tuve una situación emocional importante y bueno, ella diariamente me escribía para darme seguimiento. So she's my friend and she was really present when I was passing through a hard situation, and every day she was behind me looking if I was good. Okay. Then we have Marta. Luz Alexandra ya habló de Marta. Luz Alexandra has already talked about Marta, so I'm just going to say that she is my colleague and super friend in the psychoprospective theory. Ella es mi colega, pero gran amiga en la parte de la teoría psicoprospectiva que creamos juntos. So she and I are the creators of this psychoprospective theory. Then we have Jennifer Gidley. Jennifer Gidley has a lot of, outstanding labors in the education fields. Jennifer Gidley tiene labores importantes en la parte de educación, but most of all, I wanted to talk about her because I received a lot of support from her when being the president of this federation. Sobre todo quería hablar de ella porque cuando ella fue presidenta de esta federación, me brindó muchísimo apoyo en proyectos, en impulsar a la región latinoamericana, y bueno, y con ella, estando ella en la presidencia, yo gané un premio a la mejor futurista joven. When she was in the president, I won this award about the outstanding young women futurist in 2016. Tenemos a Marina Torres, que bueno, tiene importantes labores en parte de prospectiva en energías. She has important labors on futures about energies, clean energies and something like that. Pero también es mi amiga, es una persona que es muy leal a nuestro trabajo y eso es de mucho valor. She's really loyal to our work. She's always seeking us, so I appreciate that. Guillermina already talked about Carla. Guillermina ya habló de Carla, but I want to say that thanks to her, now I'm teaching my personal futures workshops. Gracias a ella tengo mi trabajo principal impartiendo los talleres de futuros personales en centro, gracias a ella. And finally, Areli Zaragoza, who was going to be here, but he couldn't. Areli iba a estar aquí, pero ya no pudo. Areli también es politóloga, prospectivista, pero tiene un importante trabajo en cuestión de emociones, de paz. She has an important labor in emotions, peace, socio-political studies, estudios sociopolíticos con adolescentes y con niños. Y principalmente también la rescato porque se me hace una persona muy integral, muy holística, tiene muchas cualidades y también es muy mi amiga y también ha estado muy presente cuando la he necesitado. She's really my friend and she has a lot of qualities, but she has been there present whenever I have need her.
Alethea, Aaron is here now.
I'm finished!